Kengan Omega Chapter 143 provided the potential end of Iroh and also perhaps the end of Edward. Question marks around that? I personally don't think so, but I'll talk about that later on in the video. We also have Oma potentially arriving to fight or maybe going after someone else we've all been waiting for. If you're new here and enjoy Kengan Omega, make sure to subscribe, leave a like to help your boy. Let's begin. One thing I'm kind of let down about is the art style for Iroh and Edward didn't really mean anything regarding their removal. It seems to be just the same 100%, nothing else stacked on top of that, as I initially thought, with the art style kind of getting more intense or changing somewhat, but I'm guessing that's just the inconsistencies for it, so yeah, nothing regarding that. But Iroh chucks his blade at Edward. Of course Edward dodges it, but someone is behind Edward to actually catch the blade, which is a pretty cool exchange, and of course it's Kurei Raichi and the rival of Kurei Hollis as well. Of course Edward turns around, stops the guy from stabbing him quite easily. They mention they're here to help Grandfather, and we get their nicknames, so the Adamante Demon and the Wailing Demon. With Edward actually being aware of Hollis, which is pretty cool. And also back in Kengan Ashura, we had Metsudo talking about how he thought Hollis was the fighter for the Kurei clan until Ryan came along and was revealed to be stronger than them. But yeah, Kurei Hollis seems to be quite underrated. Edward kind of pissed off again, enters his removal, but from there we cut to Oma, Okibo and Yamashita, who are on their way to celebrate Team Kengan's victory. But Oma notices someone in the hallway, tells them to go ahead, and we see that it's Mutaba. Mutaba even mentions this, but we've never seen him and Oma talk before, so this is pretty cool. He also mentioned that he was impressed he was able to sense me, questions whether the Kurei clan told him that. Oma just doesn't respond, "Oh, you're Mutaba," and then they begin talking. But before that, we all need to appreciate Mutaba's drip, a common occurrence on this channel. Mutaba always be dripped out to the max. After he got clapped by the Tiger Nico, he just put his suit back on and started to just chill and relax a bit. Gotta respect that. But he tells Oma that the Kurei are currently fighting Edward Wu and that they have the lower hand. And then this statement, he's a monster. He's as powerful as the intruder, the Tiger Nico, if not more so. So again, more confirmation that Edward and the Tiger Nico are most likely on the same level. Zia G said a similar thing about them having the same level of authority within the worm, alongside Yarn. Mutaba saying he may be more powerful, if not they're around the same. As expected, Tiger Nico and Edward Wu are big boss type dudes. From there we have two possibilities. Oma tells Mutaba to show me the way. Is he going to help the Kurei in fighting Edward Wu, or is he going to get his revenge on the Tiger Nico? Oma did promise Yamashita and the others that he wouldn't go after him right away, but again, we're talking about Oma. Man is the Sigma male to the max, the Ashura. He doesn't care, he will chase after the Tiger Nico and fight him right now as he was planning to. But he could very well be going to Edward Wu. Of course, I would prefer him to go after the Tiger Nico. I think most people can agree to that. Of course, if he is relative to Comrade Ryan, who's very clearly weaker than Edward, that would mean Oma wouldn't really stand a chance against the Tiger Nico, who's potentially on the same level as Edward. Unless Kanagito is also there, maybe Kuroki's already fighting the Tiger Nico or something like that. That could be the case, or maybe he's going to fight Edward. Of course, I don't think Edward was killed at the end of this chapter. Maybe Oma teams up with Ryan to actually finish Edward after his injuries. Who knows? Let me know your thoughts down below of whether Oma's going to Edward or the Tiger Nico. But from there we cut to Kurei Hollis, who's taking a beating from Edward. Of course, his release rate is only 80%, but somehow is surviving these blows from removal Edward, something that the other Kurei kind of got destroyed by last chapter. So Hollis, again, pretty underrated, but Edward talking shit about them not having 100%, as Raichi tries grabbing Edward from behind, but easily gets chucked away and absolutely fodderized. Hollis gets punched away. I'm guessing this is Edward going serious again. Proceeds to blitz Iroh, who tries coming from behind, and potentially stop his heart here. So is this the end of Iroh? However, Edward is a true menace, proceeds to hold on to Iroh and break his back like an absolute legend. Drops him and says, "It's a shame, old man, but not even Kurei Iroh, the mighty demon, can overcome age." Talking about how he used his relative as sacrificial pawns, the title of the chapter by the way. Telling him not to tarnish his legacy anymore and just die. However, the sacrificial pawns were not his relatives, it was Iruo himself. Wu Xing comes from behind and actually lands a direct stab on Edward's neck, and we see the final panel of Iruo's crazy smile. I was the sacrificial pawn fool. You're through, Edward Wu, and that is the end of the chapter. So very clearly, Kure Iruo is done for. His heart was almost stopped, his back was broken, and all the other damage is taken prior. But is Edward actually done for? I personally don't think so, unless his blade was like poisoned or something like that. But it doesn't go insanely deep, but we do have Wu Xing, who is known as the crazy assassin surprise attack dude. So maybe his ability to kill people is like better than anyone else or something like that. So maybe he will be successful. However, if this is actually the end of Edward, it may be a little bit anticlimactic. Yes, he did like 5v1 the Kure and Wu clan and pretty much almost win, but again, I wanted a little bit more from him. He got all this insane hype. To take him out like this would be a little bit of a disappointment. And another question is, where was Kure Rai in this chapter? In chapter 142, we actually saw him get up before, or beginning to get up before Iruo, but didn't really do anything this chapter. And another thing to mention is Edward Wu's remaining spare. So considering that and Kure Rai not appearing this chapter, I think Edward will be fine. Or maybe he can like transfer consciousness to the other spare. Or maybe the remaining spare is the true Edward Wu or something like that. As I mentioned in my initial Fury video, that the other spare looks exactly like Edward, is pretty much the same person. And then we could have Tokita Oma and Kure Ryan team up in fighting the remaining Edward or Wu Hei. That could be something pretty cool, but who knows? Sandovich loves leaving us on crazy cliffhangers, so we're just going to have to wait until next week to see what happens with Edward Wu, but yeah, pretty insane chapter. I enjoyed it. It was not as long as last chapter. The longer chapters for Kengan truly are goated, but these short ones, again, pretty solid. Oma's doing something. Iruo went out like an absolute legend. A lot of people comparing the final panel to like Netero from Hunter x Hunter. I do see it, but yeah. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to subscribe. Check out all the other stuff in the description. And if you actually color Kengan panels, I'm running a event in the Discord for the final panel of Iruo smiling for someone to get a role in the Discord server. So if you want to participate in that, check out the announcements in my server. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. And as always, shout out to these absolute mad lads who support the channel via the Patreon. But yep, that's it guys. Peace.